Namaste, Jai Bharat. In the entire situation in Pakistan, Indo-Pakistan conflict, the only nation that explicitly stands by Pakistan is Turkey. They don't like themselves to be called as Turkey. Turkey shall mean something else, so they prefer to be called as Turkey. So let me also support their sentiments. They are not become turkeys. They are not able to eat them. So I will also say Turkey. So the only nation which should be Pakistan is Turkey, and the people of Turkey, they really have very good relations with the people of Bharat, because that's a historic relations, and they call the people of Bharat as dost. Dost in Hindi means friend. So that relation is there. But this person who is leading Turkey, Erdogan, things became bad with Bharat. So the only nation which now stands by Pakistan is Turkey, and Azerbaijan to some extent, but then that's not very explicit. So Turkey is supplying them with drones and weapons, and of course that doesn't make much difference to Bharat, because as we have our own defense system, not just S-400, we have developed our own Akash Shastra, etc., etc. We have developed our own air defense system in this time, especially last 10 years with Modi ji as the helm of things. We have developed our own defense system, which got demonstrated in this war, in this conflict, as very, very effective with zero failure rate. This is incredibly impossible. So, Turkey. Now there are some people within Bharat. We don't have a shortage of Jaichans in our nation. Some states like Bengal, Mamta Bengal, and also that communist Kerala. These people become smarter than thou. They become very oversmart. They think that they can outsmart. This is a typical Pakistani Punjabi attitude. They think they can outsmart. They are smarter than others, greater than thou. This attitude, and this arises after being very shallow. You must have heard that very popular saying right from childhood: "Empty vessels make noise." No, Mamta is an empty vessel. That's why she makes a lot of noise. And this communists in Kerala, another empty vessels, and they collectively make these nonsense noises with all kind of hallucinations, projections of their thoughts. Most of the thoughts are hallucinations. Marx himself had this wonderful experience of hallucination. That's how his theories are more fantastic. He fantasized upon theories, not merely speculation. The problem with the European philosophy is that they're speculative. They're essentially speculative in nature, all entire European philosophy. So there is speculation as the fundamentals of European philosophy. You look at anyone. So speculation also involves a lot of reductionism and problems. That's a philosophical problem. When you do philosophy, you can understand it. You can go into it. But the problem with communism is Marx is immensely speculative, very emotionally speculative, very poetically speculative. What a wonderful language he writes in Marx. Wonderful language he writes in. Very poetical, very emotional. These were the attractions of Marx, which he himself is appealable to many people, common, gets impressed by this person's writing. But then his speculations are speculations alone, with no much of serious edifice or possibilities or practicality, though he calls his theory is philosophy of praxis. He doesn't call, it's Antonio Gramsci who calls Marxism as philosophy of praxis or philosophy of practice. All these things happen, but then it's absolutely not practical, because it's a fantasy based, speculative fantasies based kind of thing. Anyway, so the communists have this general disease, general problem of fantasizing, of believing in things which are not supposed to be believed in, etc., etc., etc. So why I said about Turkey and the state of Kerala is that when Turkey had some bad time, what caused the Kerala communist government to give 10 crores of Indian rupees to Turkey? Now, some people back in Kerala, they ask me this question. What made you give 10 crore rupees to them? Are they some way connected to these people, Turkey? I don't know, because as I understand, there's no relation between them. Actually, there is no relationship between that Turkey, that's a caliphate, and Bharat in that sense of time, which Mahatma Gandhi has done the mistake at that time. At the instance of Ali brothers, he supported the Khilafat movement. And even Tagore did not approve of it. He was telling not to do it. Now, but the Ali brothers did it, and of course, Ali brothers did it. And when the Turkey, the Indian Union, the Muslim League got some information from the British, they were ruling Bharat those days. They let down Gandhiji and let down the people, those who supported Khilafat movement. And that's history. It's there, out there. In spite of the fact that the anti-Bharat left liberals have written the history of Bharat, except very few. National historians are less. To a great extent, R.C. Majumdar is better. R.C. Majumdar is better to a large extent. Of course. But not generally other historians. I don't want to take their names. That the anti-national historians we had, who created all the stories, history, books of history, who use it, yourself in their schools, that how glorified the Mughal rulers were, whereas you don't know anything about Maharana Pratap Singh, Chittorgarh, and you don't know anything about Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, and you know absolutely nothing about Vijayanagara. And of course, the Singhapura, Rajaraja Chola, Singhapura that turned into Singapore later. Anyway, that's how the history is created and put in front of our students. Now, Indian Council of Historical Research, ICHR, they are trying to decolonize history, and they're trying. There were some very sensible people sitting there, like a Professor Kumar Ratnam. He was doing a good job. Some other people used to do a good job, but then I don't know. He got some other person. He was lifted up to some other position. He's a friend of me, actually, very good friend of me. Anyway, so this is how the things are. So why Kerala's relation to Turkey was the question. What made them to give 10,000 Indian rupees to Turkey to help? Of course, now the people in Kerala are accusing the communist government that with that money they're giving drones. They're making drones and giving it to Pakistan, which they're sending to Bharat. And that, of course, the communists are not very nationalist normally, because their theory, it's like it's something like the Islamist theory. The communist theory supports them about international citizenship. They have songs, communist international songs, and they had two internationals. I think one was in Paris, first Communist International and second Communist International. I don't know where it was. One was in Paris, if I remember. And they have their songs, Communist International. People used to sing Rise Awake and all kinds of things. So, and they wanted to be international citizens. So, even Lenin seemed to have said some other time, nationalism is an instrument of oppression in the hands of bourgeoisie. Nationalism is an instrument of oppression in the hands of bourgeoisie. Even Lenin said that. So, the communists are already misguided missiles. Misunderstood, misguided missiles. They have no sense of direction. They are going where they don't know. They are neither there. No, he is something like Pakistani Punjabi. Na gharka na ghatka. He is not a Punjabi. He is not a Muslim, and he is nothing. He doesn't have various chances. The communists also have this identity crisis. They don't know. They can't afford to be nationalists because the theory blocks them, and they can't be international because they are already narrow-minded people. So, grossly narrow-minded people who are indoctrinated in this impossible communist doctrination. That's very interesting. So, these people are given 10 crore rupees, and that is actually bugging, because the 10 crores of rupees is the taxpayers' money. The people of who is paying tax there, the people's taxpayers' money, which these people spend as they feel like. And so the people living there should ask questions to them. Who told you to take our money? They swindle money, of course. The communists don't belong to, they have no sense of belonging to nation. They don't really care about nationalism. They think all these things are spurious: nationalism, pride, the Faujipan, all these things they find as redundant and senseless. And the 10,000 10 crore of rupees they gave to Turkey. I don't understand who is from Kerala is a distant cousin of who from Turkey. Oh, Turkey, sorry. Turkey, I don't want to say. Because they don't like that word. This, of course, is happening. Some time back, when this Turkey had a earthquake kind of people. Remember, we were the first ones to give them supplies of food and medicines and everything. And mobile hospital, if I'm not wrong. And the people of Turkey used to call us those, clapping. Then our people went to Turkey and came back. Even when we were sent off, they gave us a decent send off. So the people of Turkey are wonderful people with whom we have long relations. But this Erdogan created a mess. He betrayed his own people. He betrays his own people. He says one thing and does another thing. Because, like Asim Munir in Pakistan, who wants to become something of an authority in Pakistan, I think he doesn't want a military coup to become dictator, because if he becomes a dictator through military coup, he wouldn't get financial support from the international community. So he needs money. So he wants to capture power. He has already sidelined Imran Khan and dumped him in the jail, in spite of the fact he really won the election. So it's Asim Munir who's playing the game. If you directly speak of one, others are puppets around him. So this Kerala people give 10 crore rupees to Erdogan. And Erdogan is like Asim Munir, he wants to become caliph. He wants to become the one-time caliph against Saudi, who is the authority of Islamic world these days. But this man wants to become caliph. Once upon a time in Istanbul and Khalifa, it is a kind of parallel administration. So he wants to assume that thing, so maybe that's his problem. Like the Shah in Iran. There are some individuals. Iranians are very excellently good people with whom we have good relations, historical relations. But these some kind of people who come into authority and destroy their own civilizations. But it is funny when you come to think of a state of Bharat is giving money to Turkey, to Turkey, and they themselves are in debt. The state is one of the poorest, I think, in the nation Bharat, who take loans, and they are experts in swindling money. Anyway, that's the situation I was just telling. We shall meet. Namaste. Jai Bharat, Jai Sri Ram.